Catherine the Great did not start out as Catherine the Great. She was born Sophie, a minor German princess who, at just 16, was sent off to Russia by her mother to marry the crown prince, Peter. Imagine, you are a teenage girl in a foreign court, surrounded by strange customs, a new language, and people who saw her as a threat and as an outsider. But Sophie was quick to realize something that would define her entire life, that survival and eventually success depended on her ability to adapt. So she threw herself into becoming Russian. She learned the language obsessively, to the point that ordinary Russians admired her passion. She converted to the Orthodox faith, she studied Russian language, and she embraced the culture around her. Step by step, she turned herself from a foreigner into someone that people could relate to. And this instinct for adaptation, for meeting people where they were, became her first real show of leadership. And it's important to note that this stood in stark contrast to her husband, Peter. While Catherine was learning to belong, Peter openly mocked Russian traditions and he idolized Prussia, even dressing his soldiers in Prussian uniforms and praising Russia's rival, Frederick the Great. It's no wonder he quickly made a lot of enemies at court and in the army. And Catherine's choices, on the other hand, to align and to adapt to the Russian faith, the culture and the people, they weren't just smart politics. It showed her intuitive understanding of power, that real influence starts with connection. Fast forward to 1762. Peter finally becomes emperor, and within 6 months, he managed to make himself one of the most unpopular rulers Russia had ever seen. He alienates the nobles, he humiliates the military, he makes fun of the church, and he surrounds himself with Prussian admirers. And Catherine saw what he could not, the frustration simmering under the surface. And even though she was personally humiliated, ignored by her husband, who had found himself a mistress, politically sidelined, and at real risk of being cast out, she didn't give up. Instead, she acted. With quiet precision, she built alliances in the army and at court. And then, in a daring moment, she seized power. Her husband was overthrown, and he soon died under mysterious circumstances. And just like that, at 33, Catherine became the Empress of Russia. But taking the throne was only the beginning. Keeping it would be much harder. She knew that her rule was fragile and that her legitimacy had to be earned, not just claimed. So she got to work. She held a grand coronation to project authority, and she began thinking seriously about what kind of Russia she wanted to rule. She had always been a voracious reader, deeply influenced by Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire and Montesquieu, and inspired by their ideas, she dreamed of transforming Russia into a modern, enlightened empire. So, in 1767, she convened a massive assembly with more than 500 representatives from across Russian society to draft a new code of laws. She even wrote the guiding document herself, blending Western philosophy with Russian reality. But the experiment stumbled. Russian society was still too rigid, too dependent on hierarchy. Over half the population were serfs, peasants bound to the land with almost no rights. And freeing them overnight would have shattered the economy, and moreover, it would have undermined her fragile base of power. Still, the effort mattered. Catherine planted the seeds of reform, and she introduced new ideas of justice, accountability, and governance into Russian politics. But more importantly, she learned something vital about ruling. Vision alone is not enough. Change needs structure. It needs systems, it needs allies, and it needs patience. And Catherine there discovered that real leadership is a dance between ideals and between the reality. It's knowing when to push forward and when to pause. And her greatness did not come from avoiding setbacks, but from learning them, adjusting, recalibrating, and not ever losing sight of her goals. So her story isn't just one of conquest or power. It's also about flexibility, about resilience, and about the courage to keep adapting, even when the world around you seems impossible to change.